I wake up on Saturday morning and I felt really good because on Friday,
Yeah.
after the Fever, Indiana Fever, also known as Caitlin Clark's team, beat the Mystics, she essentially was able to address the Kennedy Carter stuff, right? She was like, first of all, there's no grudges. Like, it's a competitive league, whatever. I don't care. She doesn't owe me an apology. It's fine. And then she essentially answered on the physicality of the league, something that has been debated longer than any flagrant foul has ever been debated in history. And she basically was like, in a very polite way, was like, yo, I knew the league was going to be physical because I have watched the WNBA my entire life. I knew what I was getting into. A little bit of a read on the people that like have all these opinions and have never seen the W before. So I'm thinking, thank you. We have put this controversy to bed, Garrett Bear. Good night.
Yep.
We don't have to talk about it anymore. She
hmm
said, we're good. Move on.
Gucci.
Then we
Other
wake
sports
up.
to cover.
Yeah,
Other stuff to talk about.
total chaos at 7 o'clock in the morning when Sham Sharania and Christine Brennan blew up the sports world by revealing a leaked copy of the Olympic team roster, a roster that she is not on. Now, typically, I would have been like, great, I'm just going to avoid sports media for the weekend because I know all these hot takes are going to be horrible. But I did have WNBA Countdown on Saturday. And a part of me felt like the timing was great because when things like this happen, sometimes you want the first voices to be the adults in the room, the most rational, the most pragmatic, the most well thought out, the most informed. And because I had the ability to sit next to two people that exemplify that, and Andrea Carter and Shea Gumake, I was like, all right, they're going to tell you why this is maybe not as surprising as you all may think and why, this happened this way and give you some examples of rookies that did make the Olympic team, but why it was set up for them to be more successful than it would be for Caitlin. And they were very, I thought, measured. In fact, let's insert that sound right here. Here is them giving a very measured take on all this.
What has been the discourse this season, besides the play on the floor? It's been, who do we attribute, who do we give credit to for the growth of the women's game and the WNBA and the moment that we're in right now? I believe Team USA looks at the roster and they have experience, but they also don't want the distraction that comes. Now, me as a fan of Caitlin Clark, I would have loved to see her on this international stage, but I understand that Team USA constructs their roster not necessarily on fandom, but completing the mission, and I think that's what we see right now.
Also, just think about this. One, it's really difficult for a player coming right out of college to make the Olympic team because you miss camps, like I said earlier. But let's think about Breanna Stewart, right? She made the Olympic team when she was a rookie. Who was the coach of that team? Gino Auriemma. I'm not saying that's why she made the team, but there's a familiarity there that's going to help her be successful. There were also 4 other Connecticut Huskies on that team to help Stewie in her first Olympics. That's not the situation for Caitlin.
Yeah.
Cheryl Reeve, who's the head coach, she's not familiar with Caitlin Clark, and the team's not familiar with Caitlin
But look,
Clark.
when you've been the preeminent dominant force in international basketball for 7 Olympic cycles straight, you'll realize that you can play loose and fast with who you want on the team. I know this personally, seeing my sister and Candace Parker being left off the squad. If you look at the point guards, I think that recent history now, they're trying to right some wrongs and build with experience. But overall, the point guards, there's going to be question marks about Chelsea Gray, who has yet to step on the floor for the Las Vegas Aces, and question marks even on Diana at 41. So yes, they're trying to right some wrongs, but also you have to look at what those circumstances of the past now open you up for.
Of course, no one wants to hear that. And they are big mad, Garrett Bear. They are big mad. And now those same patriot lovers who wave their flags and their Twitter avatars are threatening to boycott the Olympics and not support their country because Caitlin Clark ain't in it. Just saying, bro, you can't make this up.
I know, but this is the thing. We have to talk about it because we work at the worldwide leader of sports and debate, and we have to be there anytime, any place for all sports fans. But holy crap, we've been doing this show for closing in on a year, and I wouldn't be surprised if over half of them had Caitlin Clark as a top 2 or 3 topic every single episode. And it's only going to continue as the Paris Games are bearing down. We are a little over a month away from August. Now we have a bunch of international friendlies that start in London as a tune-up to Paris. The roster hasn't officially been revealed. It's just the reported 12 women who are going to make up this U.S. women's national team, a national team that hasn't lost, or rather has only won gold medals since the 1996 Atlanta games.
The inaugural one.
Correct. Which is a reason I think Caitlin Clark should be on the team. But let's get into some opinions that you, Chanae, and Drea basically had to run through on that countdown show. And I appreciated how you said, hey, listen, about the popularity contest, the All-Star game is here. As far as international competition, the Olympics are here. I think there's a middle ground somewhere in between, but let's go through some of the takes and you give me the answer as to why it is or isn't the appropriate take. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Take one.
Okay.
This is simply just bad for women's basketball as a whole, considering Caitlin Clark is the most popular, not just women's basketball player, but probably the most popular athlete in America right now.
No, because you just said the operative word America. This is the Olympics, okay? And what comes with that, they've won every single gold medal since 1996, is an expectation that you're going to win. I know to you, it's like, well, you're going to win every game. I saw that a lot on Twitter, Gary. They win every game by 50. What does it really matter if you just let Caitlin just come and ride the pine and be a mascot? First of all, you think that's what Caitlin wants? You think that she wants to be on the Olympic team as a marketing move because she's popular? She wants to earn her spot on the Olympic team. She is not one of the 12 best players in the WNBA right now. She will be. She will earn that spot undoubtedly, but nobody can make a compelling argument for why, beyond marketing and ratings. Didn't know so many people had so much invested in NBC. They can't make any argument as to why beyond that. Like, that's literally, and I just think that's very disrespectful to Caitlin Clark. Like, you want everything just handed to her, and she doesn't want anything handed to her. She's earned every single thing that she's gotten to this point in her career with hard work and with doing it on the basketball court. Why do you want that to change for her now?
This, take two, is a bad look for the vets that want to keep her off of the team, be it because of jealousy at all.
Do any of you know how an Olympic committee works? This is not a straw poll. They don't ask the other Olympians or prospective Olympians. A lot of this is, and when, I sat with Dre and Chanae, when they looked at this roster, they're like, the thing that the committee was going for here was experience. Even the first time Olympians were on the World Cup team a couple of years ago for the United States that also won gold. Or if they weren't on the full 5-man roster, like the full Olympic roster, they were involved in 3-on-3 in the Olympics when it came around for the first time in Japan in 2021. So there's a lot of familiarity there for these players because they've all played together at some point at an international level. So the idea that the vets just don't want Caitlin Clark on is just, again, so silly. They don't choose. And Arika Ogunbowale is well beloved and well received. And she's not on that Olympic roster. And she's the number 2 scorer in the WNBA. And years ago, you don't think Candace Parker was beloved? She was snubbed. Nneka Ogwumike was their captain on their team, their World Cup team, before the Olympics when they won gold, and she got snubbed. That's a snub, and she's well beloved and received. If the players themselves had anything to do with it, those snubs wouldn't have happened. So
take 3. Partners, ad partners, marketing partners, broadcast partners, red hot mad.
Oh, for sure. Listen, this I agree with.
That's a fact.
100%. Bro, let me walk you through the conference room at ESPN when we got the women's bracket and we found out that we were going to potentially have Iowa and LSU in the Sweet 16 and not in the Final Four, or in the Elite 8 and not in the Final Four. We were red hot. We were like, why would you have them? We were angry, bruh. Like, we were like, why would you do this to us? Of course NBC's upset. Yes, of course they are. Like, that's the point. But that's also why advertisers and media companies don't have anything to do with the Olympic roster. But trust me, big mad, just like we were. Wish we could have had some kind of influence on that committee that chose that bracket the way they do, because, man, we would have done some things differently.
And to a certain extent, a little upset that the Celtics are looking a little bit too good right now against the Mavericks, because I would love, listen, we don't even got to be greedy and say like 7-game series, but let's at least bring this thing back to Boston. But the way things are looking after last night, I mean, the Garden might have shut its doors for the last time this season, which, by the way, we are going to get into the NBA Finals Game 2 and how Jaylen Brown has evolved and become the face of the franchise, albeit while not leading the team in scoring. That was from Drew Holiday in game one. It was Kristaps Porzingis. This team is an absolute juggernaut. But anyway, back to the takes. Take 4, Elle. It's simply not fair to keep Caitlin Clark off of this roster, given everything she's brought to the women's game since about her junior year in college.
Yeah, you're just like so disrespecting the rest of the Olympians by saying like it's not fair. Here's my question. Who are you taking off? And everyone keeps throwing out Chelsea Gray because she hasn't played yet this year. She hasn't played since game 3 of the finals last year. Chelsea Gray is already an Olympian. She's a 3-time world champion in the W. She's one of the best guards in the world. I don't see how, even if she, and you don't know that she won't be ready by July, I don't see if she is ready to go, how you could possibly take her off of the roster. And if you did take her off the roster, you could still make a much more compelling argument that Arike Gumbawale should be able to get it. The thing that I want people to understand is that when you talk about fairness or that, like, we teach our kids that life's not fair. We teach our kids that you can only control the controllables, how you show up, how hard you work. And then you have to hope that the rest speaks for itself. And in this particular instance, because Caitlin was fortunate enough to be playing in the national championship, didn't have an opportunity to go to camp that she was invited to and work with these women at all, because these women have never played with Caitlin Clark. And because, as my amazing coworkers also pointed out, Caitlin Clark is so special that she's not really a system player. She's not a plug and go. She's not someone that can have no familiarity with anyone she's playing with, and then you just put her in and let her cook. It doesn't really work that way. You want to build around Caitlin Clark, right? Like Iowa built their whole entire offense around Caitlin Clark, and it worked to great success. And Indiana's eventually going to have to do that as well, right? Like she is a unique talent. So kind of in the same way Arike Ogunbowale is as well. They're very unique talents. And that's just not conducive to her benefiting from going and being on this team. You want her to go and mostly sit the bench and sign autographs? Like, is that what you want for her? And the fans of Caitlin Clark, I just wonder sometimes, like, I think that they underestimate her more than anybody else. And that's really got to be very frustrating if you're Caitlin Clark. The people that claim to love you and support you the most really, really infantilizing your entire experience. I mean, they're asking for people to stop playing her so physically. Caitlin's balling. She's doing really well. And that's got to be more satisfying that she's doing so well, getting everybody's best defense, getting, face guarded 90 feet from the basket, something we haven't seen before. Like, that's got to feel good. If it's true that she texted her coach, like, they woke up a monster by not putting me on this Olympic team, good. Like, that motivates athletes, and we love that in our athletes, and good for her. This rest, to answer your last take, this is actually good for Caitlin Clark. It is going to be good for Caitlin Clark. It's going to be good for her in terms of the rest that she's going to get. She's going to get a month off, something that she needs. She went straight from the grind of a college season to this, the physicality. She's going to rest. And then, of course, it's going to fuel her. It's going to fuel her to want to be on that next Olympic team and for it to be left by no doubt because of her play. I can't wait for when we can make an argument that Caitlin should be on this team, and then you insert reasons that are tangible from her play. Right now, the best argument anybody can make is, well, she's popular and she's growing the sport and she's inspiring. Well, yeah, but all of our Olympians are. And if you're a real patriot and if you're a real fan of Caitlin Clark fans that are angry right now and threatening to boycott, remember those women that you're insulting. Remember those women that you're turning your back on, that you're refusing to support because they're not Caitlin Clark. Your beloved Caitlin Clark grew up respecting those women and being inspired by those women and wanting to be just like those women. So you're doing her a disservice, and you're doing the sport that she loves a disservice by, in her honor, claiming you're not going to watch any basketball. Like, think about how actually stupid that sounds.
It is going to be a nice little respite. I feel like Caitlin Clark has been, I feel like she's been playing basketball since 2022 nonstop.
She has.
It's been bananas, and we have been talking about it nonstop too, which is equally as bananas. We deserve the Ironman award